So good evening, students. So welcome to another session. So in the previous session, we started off with the pedigree analysis. So we started how exactly to plot a pedigree analysis, and along with that, we also saw a few symbols what we frequently use whenever we draw a pedigree, right? Or whenever we start interpreting a pedigree. So we said that what are the symbols that we usually frequently come across whenever we start using a pedigree. So in the previous session, we started looking up to different symbols. So I hope all are familiar with those symbols by now, right? So major thing what you need to know is how do we represent a male, how do we represent a female, how do we represent a affected male and an affected female and the carriers, and along with that, how do we determine the marriage between two individuals, that is mating, and again consanguineous mating, and then the progeny, right? So these are the basic things what we actually use whenever we start plotting a pedigree. So with respect to that, we again started off by plotting a pedigree, right? So yesterday we took up one example, right, to show how exactly a pedigree would be plotted. So for that, we took an example of the skin color in case of humans, right? So how exactly the skin color is being inherited from one generation to the other generation. So in this section, let us take up some more examples and see how exactly do we plot a pedigree, and also if a pedigree chart is given, how do we interpret that pedigree chart and how do we come to a conclusion take up in this particular session, right? So let us begin with the today's session by taking up another example, right? So let's begin with another example with regards to the pedigree analysis, right? So one of the major importance of pedigree analysis is, as I've said already in the previous session, it is used to monitor a particular character or inheritance of a particular character from one generation to the other generation, so that we would be able to predict that particular character in the later generations or in the next generations. So that is the importance of pedigree analysis. So pedigree analysis is mostly done to predict any sort of genetic disorders. So that's what I've said even in the previous session also. So to predict any sort of genetic disorders, right? So we start using this pedigree analysis. So as in case of other types of inheritances, what we saw with regards to Mendelian inheritance or Morgan's inheritance, there, how did we go in or how did we study the pattern of inheritance? By crossing two different organisms. In case of Mendelian inheritance, it was pea plant. In case of Morgan's inheritance, it was Drosophila. But that is not the case with regards to humans. So to predict what would be the conditions or character in the future generations, we are going to study how this character is being inherited from the previous generation. So one advantage of pedigree analysis is we can go backwards, right, to identify a character, and at the same time we can also predict the future generations, right, the transmission of that character in future generations. So with regards to that only, yesterday we took up one example where we spoke about the skin color inheritance in case of human beings. So today let us take up one more example with regards to pedigree analysis, and also see how exactly do we identify identify what sort of a condition or what sort of a disorder it is when a pedigree chart is given, right? So you can just take down the question, right? So what we'll be taking up today, the second one, yesterday was the first one what we saw, so let us take up with the second question. a woman a woman whose father is a woman whose father is hemophilic. So hemophilia is actually a genetic disorder. So I'll just tell you what exactly it is once we write down the question, right? So a woman whose father is hemophilic marries a normal man. Right? They have three children. They have three children. They have three children, two daughters and a son. Two daughters and a son. The son is hemophilic. The son is hemophilic. Right? So plot the pedigree plot the pedigree and give the genotypes of all. And give genotypes of all. So this is the question that is being given to us, right? So a woman whose father is hemophilic marries a normal man. So they have 3 children, 2 daughters and a son. The son is again said to be hemophilic. So plot the pedigree and give the genotype of all. So this is the question what we have, and based on this question we would start plotting the pedigree chart. Right. Okay. So before we plot the pedigree chart, what exactly is this hemophilic all about? So hemophilic, or we usually call it as hemophilia. Hemophilia is actually a genetic disorder, right? So hemophilia is actually a genetic disorder. So when we say genetic disorder, what does that mean? The disorder which is caused due to mutation in a gene or in a chromosome. Right? So any sort of mutation in a gene or a chromosome, we start calling it as a genetic disorder, right? So we'll be talking more about the genetic disorders in our later sessions, right? Once we are done with the pedigree chart. So there we'll get into more details about lot of genetic disorders we'll be studying. So one such genetic disorder is this hemophilia. Right? So what exactly happens in this particular condition? Hemophilia. Hemophilia is actually caused due to mutation in a gene responsible for coding something called as clotting factors. Right? Clotting factors. I hope all are familiar with clotting factors. So what are these clotting factors? Clotting factors are nothing but protein substances which are actually responsible for bringing about the blood clotting in humans. Right. So if blood clotting, I think the last year we have come across this particular blood clotting factors when we were studying about blood and its components. Right. We also studied about blood clotting. Right. So if blood has to clot, there are certain factors which are required. Right. So those factors combined together, they start forming a cascade of reaction, a series of reaction, finally leading to the formation of a clot. So if clotting has to occur, these clotting factors are very, very essential. So in hemophilia, what exactly is happening is there is a mutation in a gene coding for a clotting factor. Right. Since there is mutation in a gene coding for clotting factor, what would happen now? Clotting time would get delayed. So what happens if blood clotting time delays? Right, whatever blood is there in the body will all start coming out, as a result of which the person may die. So that condition is what we call it as hemophilia. So we'll study more about hemophilia in our later topics once we get into genetic disorder. So this is what we are actually talking about, hemophilia now. Right. So now let us get back to the question here, and we'll see how to plot this pedigree chart for this disorder what we have. A woman whose father is hemophilic marries a normal man. Right. So our starting point here is the woman. So how do we denote a woman? So woman is denoted by a circle, empty circle. So this woman is normal. They have not said anything about the woman. So it would be an empty circle. Now this woman has a father. Right. So we are talking about the parents of this woman. Father is said to be hemophilic. So how do we demonstrate a male? It is a square. And we are telling that father is hemophilic. If father is hemophilic, father is affected. How do we show affected male? A solid square. So father is affected. Now anything about the mother? They have not said anything about the mother. So mother would be normal. This is the condition what we have. Now this woman now whose father is hemophilic marries a normal man. Right. Now this woman marries a normal man. So this is how we start then denoting it. Right. So once this woman marries a normal man, they have 3 children, of which 2 are daughters and 1 is son. So these 2 get married and 3 children. First 2 are daughters. So this is a daughter here, this is a daughter here, and then a son. As I've already said in the previous session, the first child will always be towards the extreme left and the last one will always be towards the extreme right. So this is the first child, second child and third child. So among the 3, 2 are said to be daughters and 1 is the son. Right. Next, what they have given in the last, the son is again said to be hemophilic. Now, this son is said to be hemophilic. So this is our pedigree, what we have. So this is the first generation. If you have to denote it by generation, this would be the second generation, and this would be the third generation. So three generations we have seen here, right? So in the first generation, the father is affected. Second generation, daughter is not affected. In the third generation, again, the grandson is affected, right? So this is how we start plotting the pedigree chart for this sort of question what we have, right? Now, what else they have given? So we have done with plotting the pedigree chart. They have told us to give the genotypes of all. So how do we give the genotype here, right? So this particular disorder, hemophilia, is actually said to be a X-linked disorder, and it is a recessive disorder, right? It is said to be X-linked recessive disorder, right? So hemophilia is actually said to be an X-linked recessive disorder. Now, what does this mean? X-linked recessive disorder. I told you all in the previous session. What does this X-linked recessive disorder mean? X-linked means the mutation is actually seen on the genes located on chromosome X, right? So if the genes located on chromosome X are mutated, right? So that condition we start calling it as X-linked condition, right? So if the mutation is a recessive mutation, so what does that mean? Only in recessive condition the disease would be expressed, right? So only in a recessive condition, if the disease is expressed, such type of a disorder we call it as a recessive disorder. Now here we are talking about an X-linked recessive disorder. So what does that mean? The mutation is seen on genes located on the X chromosome, and that mutation is again a recessive mutation, right? So now when we know, where we are sure now that it is X-linked and it is recessive. So let us take up with that. So male is affected in the first generation. So how do we denote male? Male has XY chromosome, right? Since there is mutation on X chromosome, we usually indicate it by a dot, or we can use the alphabet also, H here, right? So we can use this dot here. So X dot Y, that's how we denote the genotype of the affected male individual in a X-linked recessive individual. Now we know that the female here is normal. So when we know that the female is normal, there are two possibilities again. One is the female could have X and X chromosome without any mutation, or the female can have X dot X, where there is mutation in only one of the X chromosome. So if this is the condition, we start calling it as a carrier. So women could be either normal without any mutation, or the woman would be a carrier with mutation on one of her X chromosomes. So this would be the genotype. Let's now get to the second generation female here. Now, if it is a female, the father will start giving X chromosome, and that X chromosome has a mutation here, right? Now, the mother, which chromosome comes from the mother? It would be either one of the X from these two, or this X which is normal. So X from here. So the child here in the second generation is said to be a carrier of this particular gene called as mutated gene called as hemophilia. So the genotype of the child would here be again X dot and X. Now this woman marries a normal man. So when we say normal man is X and Y. So there is no problem with that, right? Now talking about their offsprings, right? So let us see what first the male parent will give to the child. Since it is a daughter here in the third generation, the father will give X chromosome, right? Here also daughter here, so the father will give X chromosome. Here it is son, so definitely the father should give a Y chromosome, right? Next, talking about the women here, right? So mother will give which chromosome to these children, right? First one, mother could give either X dot, the mutated X chromosome, or the mother could give a normal chromosome. So that is one possibility here. Here again, the mother could give again a mutated chromosome, or the mother could give a normal chromosome. So these are the two possibilities here. Whereas in the case of third condition, definitely the mother has to give a mutated chromosome. Only then the father would, only then the child son would be affected, right? So this would be the genotypes of all of these individuals in the first, second, and third generation. Yeah, so this is how we start plotting the pedigree, and at the same time, this is how we start giving the genotypes of all of the individuals in all of the generations, right? So again, let us get back to the question here. A woman whose father was hemophilic, right? So we have first started off with the woman here in this case, and we are telling that the father is hemophilic, right? So this woman whose father is hemophilic would marry a normal man, right? And then they have three children, of which first two are daughters and the third one is the son. The third child, that is the son, is being affected. So what sort of a disorder this would be? This would be an X-linked recessive disorder, right? So one more way how to identify X-linked recessive disorder is, let me make it very simple here, right? Father is affected, right? Whereas the daughter is not affected, but the daughter is a carrier. And again, the grandson is affected. So you can just see how exactly this particular disease is being transmitted from one generation to the other generation. In the first generation, father is affected. Second generation, mother is a carrier here. The third generation, the child is being affected. Right. So this type of inheritance, we start calling it as crisscross inheritance pattern. It is called as crisscross inheritance pattern. So we'll talk more about this also in detail, right? So just remember that it is termed as crisscross inheritance. Father affected, daughter not affected, again the grandson is affected, right? So this type of inheritance pattern, we would start calling it as crisscross inheritance pattern, shown only in X-linked recessive conditions. Right? Things what you need to remember, this crisscross inheritance pattern is shown only in case of X-linked recessive disorders. Right? So this is what we have with one question here with regards to the pedigree analysis. Right? So you can just make a note of it. Right? How exactly do we plot a pedigree chart? Right? So this is with regards to X-linked recessive disorder. In the previous session, we saw about the autosomal disorder, that is autosomal recessive disorder. So under autosomal recessive disorder, we saw about the skin color, right? Inheritance of skin color in case of humans, right? Now what we are seeing is an X-linked recessive disorder. So how do we plot an X-linked recessive pedigree chart, right? So take a screenshot of it, right? Right. Okay. Now what we'll do is, let us see, till now what we have seen is, if a question is given, how do we plot a pedigree? But now what we'll see is, if a pedigree chart is given, how do we interpret the pedigree chart? Because most of the cases in your exam, right, rather than these sort of questions and telling you to plot the pedigree, right, most of the questions is they'll give you a pedigree chart and they'll tell you to identify what sort of a pedigree it is, right? So that we'll take up now. So how do we interpret the pedigree chart when a pedigree chart is given? So whenever a pedigree chart is given, they'll be giving you four options. So from those four options, you need to identify, right? From those four options, you need to identify which one suits the best, right? So let us take up with the first pedigree chart. Let us take up with the first pedigree chart. So here we have one condition here. So they have given a female and a male here, right? So this female is affected, right? This female is affected, and this couple, they have four children, a son who is affected and another son who is normal, a daughter who is affected and another daughter who is normal. This is the second generation, right? Now this first son marries a normal woman and they have two children. First one is a son and second one is a daughter here. Now this daughter marries a normal man and they have four children. First one is son. The son is normal. Second one is daughter who is affected. The third one is a normal daughter. And the fourth one is again a son who is affected, right? So this is our pedigree chart what we have. So this would be the first generation, second generation, third generation, and the fourth generation, right? So you can just quickly take this down so that we start interpreting this particular chart here, right? So quickly take that down. So we'll start interpreting the chart here. So you'll be given 4 options for this. The first option would be so that is the chart, and these would be the options that are actually given for you. So the first option would be autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, X-linked dominant, and X-linked recessive, right? So this is how we start giving these particular. So these are the options which are actually given for this particular pedigree chart. Now, how do we interpret this pedigree chart, right? So let me just tell you a few things what you need to remember whenever you start identifying the pedigree chart. The first and foremost is, no matter what sort of question you have, definitely the options will be only these 4, even in your exams also, right? It would be autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, X-linked dominant, X-linked recessive. So what does this mean, autosomal dominant? The mutation is seen in the genes which are present on the autosomes, right? Autosomes are nothing but body chromosomes, chromosomes which are not involved in sexual reproduction. So that mutation could be a dominant mutation, or it could be a recessive mutation. Similarly, the third and fourth option would be X-linked mutation. That is, if mutation is seen on the gene present on the X chromosome, right? We start calling it as X-linked disorder, right? So that X-linked disorder could be either a dominant mutation or it could be a recessive mutation, right? So whatever be the pedigree that is given to you, right, the options what you'll be having will be only these 4 options. So out of these 4 options, you need to select which one suits best for this. So for that, you need to know a few things how to interpret this. So let us actually get to that. Right. So the first and foremost thing what you need to do is, as and when the pedigree chart is given, first identify whether it is dominant or recessive. That is one very simple way to identify whether the pedigree is a dominant pedigree or whether it is a recessive pedigree, whether it is a dominant mutation or whether it is a recessive mutation. Now, how do we identify whether it is dominant or a recessive mutation? First one, the first point what you need to note down is, if the character or the trait is seen in all the generation, right? If the affected individual seen in all the generations, if affected individuals is seen in all the generations, then it would definitely be a dominant trait, right? So this you should never forget, right? If affected individuals are seen in all of the generations, so here we have 4 generations, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if there is at least one affected individual in all of the generations, then it would be a dominant trait. So this is the first and foremost thing what you need to see whenever a pedigree chart is given, right? So this is what we have, right? Or we can take one more also. If affected son has affected parents, right? Or if affected daughter has affected parents, then also it would be a dominant, right? 2 ways to identify whether it is dominant or recessive. First one, if the trait is seen in all of the generation, if affected individuals are seen in all of the generations, then it is automatically, we conclude saying that it is a dominant trait. One more way is affected children, if they have affected parents, affected children, affected parents, affected children, affected parents, then again we would say that it is again dominant, right? So this is one way. Next one, if affected individuals are not seen in all generations, so if there is skipping of generations, So if there is skipping of generations, then it would be a recessive trait. Right? If there is skipping of generation, then it would be recessive. Now, what does that mean, skipping of generation? Say in the first generation, one of the individual is affected. Second generation, no one is affected. Third generation, again, one or two individuals are affected. Fourth generation, again, none of them are affected. So if that is the case, if there is skipping in generation, right, where first generation they are affected, second generation they are not affected, third generation affected, again fourth generation affected. So in the second generation they are not affected. So there is skipping of generation seen. So if there is skipping of generation seen, such type of disorder or such type of mutation would be a recessive mutation. That's how we actually identify whether it is dominant or recessive. So once we are confirmed with whether it is dominant or recessive, out of 4 options, 2 options would be eliminated, definitely. So we'll be left out with only 2 options, and out of those 2 options, we need to identify which one suits the best. Right. Next one. The fourth one, what you need to remember. If the diseased condition, right, if the disease condition is passed on from father to the son, right, if the disease condition is passed on from the father to the son, right, if the disease condition is passed on from the father to the son, right, such type of condition or such type of disorder, we start calling it as a recessive disorder. Right, if the disease condition is passed on from the father to the son, right, if it is passed on from the father to the son, such type of condition we start calling it as, autosomal condition. So it would be autosomal. Right, it would be autosomal mutation. Right, so if the disease condition is being passed on from the father to the son, right, it would be autosomal disorder. One more is, if the disease condition is passed on from father to the daughter, if it is passed on from the father to the daughter, that condition would be X-linked condition. Right, it would be X-linked condition. Right, so this is what we have. So if the disease is passed on from the father to the son, right, if the disease is passed on from the father to the son, then it would be autosomal condition. If the disease is passed on from the father to the daughter, then it would be X-linked condition. Right, so these are the things what you need to remember. Right, so these are the things what you actually need to remember. Right, so keeping this in mind, right, keeping this in mind, we can start identifying what sort of a disorder is this particular pedigree here. Right, so keep this in mind, so you can just make a note of this, right, and then we'll start interpreting this particular thing here. Okay, so there is one more generation added here, so you can just make a note of this also. So they have 4 children here again. So this would be generation number 5. So the 5th generation. So we have 5 generations individuals here, right? So this is what we have with the question and how to interpret this particular thing, right? So let us quickly get back to how to interpret it once again, right? Whenever a pedigree is given, first identify whether it is dominant or recessive. So how do we identify whether it is dominant or recessive? If affected individuals are seen in all the generation, then it would be a dominant condition. If there is skipping of generation happening, then it would be a recessive condition. Right. Next one. Once we are sure whether it is dominant or recessive, next what do we do? How to identify whether it is autosomal disorder or X-linked disorder. So how do we identify whether it is autosomal disorder? If the trait is passed on from father to the son, right? If the trait is passed on from father to the son, then it would be autosomal disorder, right? If the trait is passed on from father to the daughters, then it would be X-linked disorder, right? So this is what we have. Now, keeping this in view, let us start identifying or interpreting this pedigree chart. Now, first one, as I've already said, first identify whether it is a dominant or recessive. right? So if in all of the generations, if there are affected individuals, so let us see that. First generation, female is affected, right? Second generation, a male and female is affected. Third generation, female is affected. Fourth generation, a female and a male are affected. And the fifth generation, again, a female and male are affected. So what sort of a mutation is this? Dominant or recessive mutation? It is a dominant mutation. So we are now sure that this option is false and this option is false. So we have ruled out option number 2 and option number 4. Now we have left out with option number 1 and 3, whether it is autosomal dominant or X-linked dominant. Right. Now, how do we find out whether it is autosomal or X-linked? If the disease condition is passed on from the father to the son, it is autosomal. And if it is passed on from father to daughters, it is X-linked. Let us check out with that. Father to the son, mother to son and daughter, son to daughter, right? Then again, daughter to mother, sorry, this mother to daughter and son, this son again to daughter and son. So this son, this male here again to father here again to daughter and son, right? So since the trait is passed on from the father to the son here as well as daughter together, this cannot be a sex-linked inheritance, right? One more thing what you need to remember here is, right, so all these things have been actually given based on observing several pedigree charts, right, based on several pedigree charts, but it's not always true for some cases, right? Just for our identification, we actually use it, right? Keeping this in view, if we say that, one more thing, if you want, you can add on to this. In case of X-linked, right, in case of X-linked, we are talking here, affected father cannot have affected daughter and son together in the same generation, right? So affected father cannot have affected son and daughter together in the same generation, right? So that is seen only in case of autosomal. And here we have that. Affected father has affected son. Our first thing is qualified here, right? Similarly, affected father has affected daughter and son together in the same generation. So we would go in with autosomal dominant disorder. So this is our autosomal dominant disorder. Now, we know that it is autosomal dominant disorder. Now let us start re-verifying it, whether it is autosomal or no, right? So let us start re-verifying. How do we re-verify it? By start identifying the genotypes of all of the individuals. So let us start writing the genotypes of everything. We know that it is autosomal dominant here. So the disease causing condition is a dominant condition. Right, it is a dominant condition, and affect normal individuals are said to be recessive. So let us take this recessive as small a and small a. Right, disease causing individual has a dominant trait. So when we say dominant trait, it would be either capital A, or it would be capital A and small. So these are the two possibilities what we have, either homozygous condition or a heterozygous condition. Right. Next one, talking about the second generation. Right. Now, since we know the father is both recessive, definitely the father will be giving a recessive allele to all of her children. Right. The father has given recessive allele to all of the children. Now, what allele will the mother give to the children here? Right. Since the first son is affected, definitely the father should give a dominant allele. I mean, mother should give a dominant allele. Here also the daughter is affected. So definitely the mother should give a dominant allele here also. Now what about these two conditions? The second child and the third child are said to be normal. Since the second and third child are normal, their genotype should be recessive genotype. So the mother should give a recessive allele. So recessive allele comes here and recessive allele comes here. Now since the mother is giving recessive alleles, the genotype here would be capital A and small a. So this would be the genotype of the mother. It is mother is said to be heterozygous dominant. Let us talk about the genotypes here in the second generation again. We said that this son here, affected son, marries a normal woman. Normal woman means small a and small a. Now let us see the genotypes in the third generation. In the third generation, mother is recessive, both alleles are recessive. So one recessive allele to the son, one recessive allele to the daughter. Now again, daughter is affected, so definitely the dominant allele should come from the father here. So this would be a dominant allele here, and here again a recessive allele would come here because the son is normal. Right. Now this affected daughter will marry another normal individual, small a and small, a recessive condition here. Right. Now since father is recessive, father will start giving recessive alleles to everyone here. So recessive allele A here, A and A here. Right. All recessive alleles are given. Now which allele will the mother give during the process of fertilization? Since it is two children are affected children will get a dominant allele here, right? Affected individual will get a dominant allele, right? Then unaffected allele will get a recessive allele. Unaffected children will get a recessive allele here, right? Recessive allele. Now this son, affected son, again marries a normal female. So the condition is a recessive condition here. Right. If it is a recessive condition, the genotypes in the last generation will be, since female is mother is recessive or unaffected, mother will start giving recessive alleles to all her children. And what will the father give here? Since two children are affected here, so the dominant allele will come here from the father and here also from the father. Whereas in the other condition, a recessive allele will come, right? So this way, if we are able to plot the genotypes, right? So we will be able to confirm whether it is autosomal dominant or X-linked dominant. If we start plotting the same thing with X-linked dominant, we will not be able to arrive to this particular genotype in clear, right? So this is how we start interpreting this particular pedigree chart, and this is how we start re-verifying whether the option what we have chosen is correct or not. So as per this pedigree chart what we have, the individual or the disease is said to be a autosomal dominant disorder, right? I hope you all are clear with this particular thing now, right? Only thing, while identifying the genotype or interpreting the genotype, keep these things in view, right? If the affected individuals are seen in all the generation, dominant, right? If the affected individuals is seen only in a few generations, so if there is skipping of generation, it would be a recessive trait, right? Next one, if the trait is passed on from father to the son, it is autosomal. And one more thing also we can take for autosomal, if the affected father has affected son and daughter in the same generation, we would consider it as autosomal. And for X-linked, if the trait is passed on from father to the daughter, then it would be X-linked. And one more thing also, you can make a note of it when you're interpreting X-linked disorder. In X-linked disorder condition, males are said to be more affected than the females, right? So by observing the pedigree, if you see more number of males affected than the females, then also we can say that that particular condition is a X-linked recessive condition, right? So this is what we have with the first pedigree, what we have, the example, and how we interpret it, right? So clear with this? So if you're fine with this, we'll move on to another pedigree now. So let's take up with another pedigree and we'll see how exactly do we interpret that pedigree here. So the options would remain the same. So I'm just changing the pedigree chart here. So you can just take a screenshot of it, right? And you can start practicing it, right? Okay, so let's take up with another type of pedigree chart here. Number 2. Okay, so this is the next pedigree chart, what we have, right? So this is the first generation. This would be the second generation, the third generation, and the fourth generation. So 4 generations pedigree chart is here, right? So we have 4 generations pedigree chart here, right? So let us see the pedigree chart first here. In the first generation, a male is affected. So affected male marries a normal woman and they have 3 children, of which the first child and the third child are affected, right? A son and a daughter are both affected. Now in the second generation, affected female marries a normal man and they have 2 children, a daughter and a son, and both are said to be normal. Whereas in the second generation only, the affected male marries a normal woman and they also have 2 children and both the children are said to be normal. In the third generation, the first daughter, right, marries a normal man and they have 2 children and both the children are again said to be affected. So this is the question what we have, right? So this is the question what we have. 4 generations pedigree here. Now how do we identify this particular pedigree chart? Again, let us get to the following same things again. First, check whether it is dominant or recessive. Affected individuals seen in all generations, dominant. If there is skipping of generations, it would be recessive. Let us check out. So in the first generation, father is affected, male is affected. In the second generation, a male and female are affected. In the third generation, no one is affected. And in the fourth generation, again, both the children are affected. So in the third generation, no one is affected. So there is skipping of generation C. Now, since there is skipping of generation C, we would be very sure that it is a recessive phenotype. It is a recessive trait. Now, since it is a recessive trait, we are now sure that we have eliminated 2 options, right? One is option number 1 and option number 3. So our answer lies in option number 2 and option number 4, whether it is autosomal recessive or whether it is X-linked recessive. Now again, how do we identify whether it is autosomal or X-linked, right? Autosomal or X-linked, first thing what did I tell you to see? Whether affected father has affected son. Let us see here. Affected father has affected son. So nowhere affected father has affected son. Second thing what I told you all to see with regards to autosomal, affected father will have affected son and daughter in the same generation, right? So affected father has affected son and daughter in the same generation again. This is what I said. First case, affected father will have affected son, right? So affected father has affected son. Second condition, affected father will have both affected daughter and son present in the same generation. Then I told you that it would be autosomal. So father to the daughter, right? So father to the daughter, that is not seen here, but this condition is seen. This condition is seen only in case of autosomal condition. So by observing this pedigree, we can come to a conclusion that this particular condition is autosomal recessive condition. So here we would go in with option number 2, telling that it is an autosomal recessive condition, right? Now again, to re-verify it, let us start doing the genotypes here so that we get a clear picture here of autosomal recessive. So we are telling it autosomal recessive. So the disease condition is because of the recessive mutation. The mother is normal, so the mother could be either homozygous dominant or heterozygous dominant, right? So since father is affected here, father will give the recessive allele to all the children. Father will give recessive allele to all the children. Now, what allele comes from the mother here? Since affected individuals are seen in second generation also, mother should definitely give a recessive allele. Since mother should give a recessive allele, the genotype of the mother would be heterozygous dominant, right? So the mother will start giving the recessive allele here, and here mother will give a dominant allele and here a recessive allele, right? Next, talking about this particular individuals here now, right? Female here, affected female marries a normal man. So when we say normal man, man could be either capital A or capital A small. This male also, this affected male also marries a normal woman. So it could be either capital A or capital A and small. Right. Now let us talk about the third generation genotypes. In this condition here, affected female will start giving recessive allele to both the children. Now which allele should come from the father? Since it is none of the children are here are affected, definitely it would be a dominant allele coming here from the father. Right. Next one, talking about this condition here. father is affected and mother is normal. So we said mother's genotype would be either homozygous dominant or heterozygous dominant. Now the father will start giving recessive allele to both the children. And which allele will come from the mother here? It would be definitely a dominant allele here. So the mother could be either homozygous dominant or heterozygous dominant. Talking about the genotypes in the fourth generation. In the third generation, we have seen that a normal woman, which is said to be homozygous, a carrier, marries a normal man. So when we say normal man, man would be either capital A or capital A small a. Right. Now we said that both the children are affected here in the last generation. So definitely capital small a should come from the father here, and from here also it should be small a only coming. So here the father would be heterozygous dominant. Similarly, from the mother also, it would be the recessive allele coming here. Right. So this is what we have with the genotypes of the all of the individuals in all of the generations. So the condition here, what we have would be autosomal recessive disorder, right? So this is how we start identifying or interpreting the pedigree, and at the same time to re-verify whether we have identified a correct disorder or no, we start identifying the genotypes here. So if we are able to get the genotypes also properly without any problem, right? So we'll be able to confirm that what our interpretation is actually said to be right. Right. So two examples we have seen in this session, right? One with autosomal dominant and autosomal recessive. In the later sessions, in the next session, we'll take up two more examples and we'll see how exactly X-linked dominant pedigree and X-linked recessive pedigree looks like. Only thing what you need to remember, just remember these 4 steps, right? So based on these 4 steps, we will be able to identify what exactly is this pedigree all about, right? Fine. Thank you.